All right, America. My name is Osei-Frimpong. I'm going to be hosting Breaking Brown tonight, and we have a big show tonight planned. Yvette's out of town taking care of some family business, and she'll be back actually tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to do a special Breaking Brown because she's out tonight. But tonight, I'm doing it. I'm doing the show, so I need you to gather around, and I need you to especially share this video on your social media feed. That means tweet it or go to Facebook. Actually, I need to go to Facebook right now and put it on my... Tell people I'm live right now. Go to Facebook. Tell people you're on. I don't have another producer right now. Our intern Michael, Matthew, who's wonderful, is working remotely. But I'm on now. We're going to do black politics. We're going to do it right. And like I said, we have a big show planned tonight. Let me just get my tech right. Hey, y'all. So once again, tell your friends. Share this to your Facebook. Tweet it out if you tweet it. Subscribe to this channel because a lot of people don't know. I too have a channel where I do the earlier videos are political philosophy. I'm a PhD student in political philosophy, so I do political philosophy in short bits to 70s funk and 90s hip hop. So it'll be like, what is neoliberalism in 6 minutes to like 70s funk and 90s hip hop, and or like what is liberalism, what is justice, what are institutions. All of those videos you can find on my channel. That's the channel you're seeing this video on most likely, at I am Osei-Frimpong or The Funky Academic. And those videos are actually, I started this about 2 years ago to use those videos as pedagogical tools, teaching tools for classrooms, and they've been picked up by a lot of college classrooms, and I think no small amount of high school classrooms also. So go back through the catalog and look at what are rights, like what is freedom. Although the what is freedom video is a little bit thick, so you might have to see it 3 or 4 times. So that's what I do on this channel. I say that as people, I want to give people a chance to file in. And so we're going to talk about a few things in terms of black politics today. We're going to talk about Chance the Rapper because the kids love Chance, right? And we have to figure out, and this is a live question that we're going to come back to probably again and again and again, or at least a few times, about whether hip-hop is an avenue for social justice or whether hip-hop is an avenue of social control. And a lot of that depends on who picks what groups make it and who picks what gets on the radio, who picks what gets the right reviews. If so, you don't know, while people file in, I'll tell you a story about... I used to work for Chance's dad, Ken Bennett, in Chicago. I've had like 17,000 jobs in my almost 40 years. One of them was an intern in then President Obama's office. When President Obama was in Chicago, or when Senator Obama was the U.S. Senator from Illinois, and I worked in the Chicago office.
I can't find your video.
Excuse me?
I can't find your video on your site.
Okay, so, well, all right, so I was an intern in then Senator Obama's office, and my job, I had 2 jobs. One, I needed to build the then Senator's email list full of like black luminaries so that when he was going to run for president, it would be an easy shift to use that email list to build his donor base and support. And also my other job was to recruit black high schoolers into the service academies, because in order to get a service academy, that's Air Force, West Point for the Army, or the Colorado Springs or Annapolis for the Navy. In order to get into one of those service academies, you needed a letter of recommendation from a congressman. And so, then Senator Obama was like, look, let's get more black people applying to the service academies because they get free tuition and blah, blah, blah. So my job was to recruit black students to apply, tell them to fill out their essays and tell them to take their score, their tests and, apply to get a letter of recommendation. Well, it turns out half the letter of recommendation, let's say then Senator Obama would write 30 letters of recommendations. Half of those recommendations would come from for donors' kids, right? So if you gave a lot of money to the Democratic Party, your dad would call the office and then there'd be a letter of recommendation from you for you to go to one of the service academies waiting. And then the other half of those letters of recommendations, let's say the other 15, would come from the pool that I was adding to, right? So that, let's say at the end there'd be 300 kids total, right? 40 of them were the ones that I recruited, and then 260 of them were from just everyone else who wanted to go to a service academy from Illinois. So what happened was, after I recruited all of those black kids to apply to the service academies, what they would do is make the first cut from 300 to 50 based on just test scores. And if you know anything about the way test scores work in America, or generational wealth and generational poverty and how these tests are skewed, that's pretty much all of the people I recruited. So it was my job to waste a lot of 17-year-olds' time telling them that they had a chance to get into the service academy by writing cover letters and getting their letter of recommendations right. But then at the end, they would just get cut because the intern next to me, his job was to make that first cut, and they just didn't even read the essays. They just made it off of test scores. And that's black life, right? So you have one class at that time, my class, the collaborated class, whose job it is to waste other black people's time. That's a problem. It's also a reason I didn't stay very long at then Senator Obama's office. But while I was there, the chief of staff, I guess my third job was to take Ken Bennett's messages. So while I was there, the chief of staff was a guy named Ken Bennett. His son, Chancellor Bennett, you might know as Chance the Rapper. Now, Chance the Rapper has been making a lot of hay recently about his political motivations. And I don't know Chance the Rapper very much, but I do know Ken Bennett. And I was in Chicago long enough to know enough of that set of black Democratic operatives to know that they mean you no good. Insofar as they will go for black people right up until it gets in the way of them and their personal legacy. So if Chance the Rapper's politics, because from all I see is that this kid is looking to run for higher office later, and he will have the entire support of the entire Democratic Party. But for a family of that sensibility, politics is the family business, not necessarily doing good by black people, right? So what's the difference? Chance the Rapper is going to be your advocate right up until it gets in the way of white capital going into the Bennett clan's family. And that's a problem, because any black politics that means something in Chicago is going to have to be on the other side of a lot of white capital. And that's just not that's just not what Chance is going to do. And if you watch, this is going to be maneuvered by a specific kind of black politics, a kind of black politics that's especially popular on the white left and then the center of the Democratic Party, and even a little bit in Black Lives Matter, although a lot of the movement for Black Lives people have wisened up. It's a black politics that ghettoizes black concerns to criminal justice, right? In the same way that's tempting to ghettoize Latino concerns to immigration, it's really easy to ghettoize black concerns to criminal justice. Because if you do that, then you don't have to come up with a plan for jobs for black people. You don't have to come up with a plan for a public education system for poor black people. You don't have to actually come up with a plan to address generational poverty and generational degradation that disproportionately affects black people because it was state-sponsored in a way that targeted black people. If you ghettoize black concerns to criminal justice, you found a way to get black votes without upsetting white capital, except for the little bit of white capital that depends on prison labor. So I want you to be very careful for your black politicians who don't talk about employment discrimination, who don't talk about generational poverty, generational state-sponsored domestic terrorism. Those black politicians who don't talk about housing discrimination and housing segregation. Those black politicians or any politicians who only talk about black people in terms of criminal justice, because that's a way to get out of the real justice claims. Not the real justice claims, that might be overstating it. That's a way to get out of the other justice claims that actually threaten white capital. And honestly, if we had a lot of black people making $20 an hour, $25 an hour, like the crime would almost take care of itself, except for, a few other domestic terrorism issues. So watch these politicians, watch these politicians' kids, because they're going to give you a black politics that doesn't lead to money in black people's pockets. And that's why I'm going to take, so Chancellor Rapper, be very suspicious of him. When you see Michelle Obama, like when you see Michelle Obama stumping for Chance, just remember Michelle Obama was the one who went for healthy foods, but then stayed mute with respect to the lead in Flint's water. So she might not be about your life either. I have my own suspicions about Michelle Obama, just about her concern for poor black people. I think she's very concerned about the Obama name and the Obama clan. I don't think she's concerned about your kid. I lived in Chicago in the neighborhood where the local public school that Malia and Sasha Obama would have gone to had they not gone to the private lab school. The local public school that they would have gone to was shut down when it was shut down by Arnie Duncan and Rahm Emanuel. There are two Obama people who shut down the Obama local public school. So that disproportionately served, poor and working class black kids. So I have my issues with the Obama's commitment to your people. I think they're perfectly committed to Chance, and I think they're perfectly committed to their lives and their legacies. I just don't think they're committed to, the generational degradation, the legacy of America's legacy of redressing slavery. I mean, this comes from President Obama, who said he might agree with reparations in theory, but didn't want to fight for it because he thought it might be a losing battle. So fighting for justice for black people is always going to seem like a losing battle. That's what it is to fight for justice for black people. The work of politics is to create majorities, not just kowtow to them. And Obama wasn't about trying to create a majority of people who actually believe that maybe reparations might be a good thing for descendants of slaves. And to be honest, to pass a reparations bill, you only need about 35% of white people, 35 to 37% of white people to actually believe in it. Then you just work on other people to think that it's okay, and you kind of sandwich it into a few other bills and or a few other planks in a platform, and it actually could be a part of a platform. Right now, it's in the Movement for Black Lives platform, but you probably didn't know that. But it's still in the it's in the platform, and that's how you can move policy. So this is important because there's another young black politician who's making waves across these United States, specifically from the state of Georgia, and her name is Stacey Abrams. So Stacey Abrams is a talented politician, has been the minority leader of the Georgia House of Representatives, and is a 43-year-old Yale Law graduate who has a sidelined as a romance novelist, and her sister is also a Yale graduate from the law school, and it's all very fancy, so we want to support this sister, right? So the problem is she doesn't have a worked out plan for black people to break out of generational poverty. And like, she doesn't have a worked out plan to put money into black people's pockets. She's not out there like, I'm going to be the next Marion Barry, except for the entire state of Georgia. I'm going to get these state contracts and put them into black people's pockets. I'm going to create pipelines from kindergarten through plumber to make sure that like black kids whose grandparents were sharecroppers end up being a plumber with a fat government contract. She's not talking that kind of talk. She's not talking about like Maynard Jackson was about how our construction in 1996. Maynard Jackson says, look, Atlanta can have the Olympics, but 30% of all construction projects have to go to black-owned businesses. That's a big deal. That's a lot of money. So if Stacey Abrams is talking like that or starts to talk like that, then we'll talk about supporting Stacey Abrams. Right now, there are two Stacey Abrams. There are two Stacey's running for the Georgia governor. There's Stacey Abrams and Stacey Evans. Stacey Abrams is the black one. Stacey Evans is the white one. However, this is very confusing because Stacey Abrams has a Jewish-sounding name, and Stacey Evans sounds like she could be a member of Good Times. So, like, don't get it confused. Stacey Abrams is the black one. Stacey Evans is the white one. Except Stacey Abrams, we need to make sure, we need to pin her down. And I said I wasn't going to like go out too hard, but we need to pin her down between now and Election Day on a program that redresses black generational poverty, especially in a state like Georgia. For example, the flagship university, the University of Georgia, the university I'm a graduate student at right now, was a segregated institution until 1971 when it was desegregated by court order with 2 students. And anytime you desegregate, that's the flagship university. That's like a lot of money comes through Athens, Georgia, through the University of Georgia. And when the University of Georgia is segregated white, that means all the staff is white. All the higher end staff, the upper 5 figures, 6 figures salary staff is segregated white. And those are a lot of jobs, especially considering that Athens, Georgia is 27% without students, around 35%, or 27% with students, around 35% without students black, which means that there are a lot of black Athens residents who could be working good 5-figure, low 6-figure jobs as administrators at a big flagship university if the city of Athens hadn't had such a strong legacy of segregation, and the university itself wasn't a segregated university. And so that's black people in Athens locked out of those jobs just because their parents weren't allowed to have those jobs. So if Stacey Abrams said, look, we're going to make sure that every major public university in the state of Georgia has staffing, not just like janitors, but actually has administrative staffing up through the hospitals that is, 20% black, or like black in a way that's adequate to the local populations. And if we need to do that, we need to make pipelines from those local elementary school on through those staff positions to make sure that that happens, and to establish those pipelines so that and Stacey Abrams could say, look, I'm going to put down a 20-year plan or a 25-year plan to make sure black people are included in the Georgia public economy. If Stacey Abrams comes out with that plan, I'll be happy to endorse Stacey Abrams. Until then, she's just another, ambitious black politician who might not be all about fighting for black life and black livelihood, right? So we're going to need an economic plan from our from our gubernatorial candidates. Also, honestly, if I were the other Stacey, the white Stacey named Evans, you now have the political cover to come out with the most pro-black platform in the history of white people doing pro-black politics. You could be more pro-black than Jim Brown and just say, look, I need to come out with a pro-black politics because, the other Stacey that I'm running against is actually black. So I need to somehow complicate that vote or cut into that vote. So Stacey Evans, if you want someone to do your black politics for you, hit me up at ireme@thefunkyacademic.com. And, I'll work for you too, because I don't care about electing black faces. I want to push a black politics and a black programs that will redress the masses of black poverty and redress the generational poverty. Right? I want programs and policies that will create the next generation of black architects, not just black engineers, because I know a lot of black engineers, but black architects and black dentists and dental hygienists. And I want black people at every six-figure job that you got white people doing. I need a program, and I need a government program that will guarantee a pipeline to that job from year 8 to that job. Because without that government pipeline, we can't depend on the market to handle providing jobs at that level for black people, because the market and the state and our government was instrumental in locking people out of those jobs. And now, since we're in the late phases of American American political economy, you need expertise. They say it takes 3 generations to do a job. It takes 3 generations to make a career. So that means if you're a judge, there's a high likelihood that your parents were lawyers or English teachers, something like that, and then their parents were more literate than most. So it takes 3 generations to make a career. And so we need the policies now that are going to make up for being generationally locked out of those professions. I want to see black pest control people. I want to see black air conditioned people. But honestly, all of these things are crafts that take apprenticeships in time, and it's not often that a white pest control person or a white air conditioner person is going to take time and the patience to apprentice a black kid, especially when they have nephews to take care of, worthless nephews, or real estate agency. So I look at all of the employment opportunities that black people are locked out of, and I need public policy that's going to redress and create the pipelines necessary to get sharecroppers' kids, to get domestic workers' kids into a pipeline to become an architect in 1 generation. That's your job, government, and I want black politicians who push for those kind of pipelines. So criminal justice is easy. Give me the pipelines that'll create black architects. That's what I want. That's what we all should be asking for out of our black politics. Now, it looks like more people are filing in and more people know about the show. So what I'm going to do is say, look, you need to subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about this channel. Tell your friends about Breaking Brown, Yvette's channel, which is excellent. But also tell them about The Funky Academic, because on through this year, I'm going to be doing more and more local politics. I have aspirations to do a local politics show based in Athens, Georgia, called The Black Athenians. And in that local politics show, we'll dig down and name names about how to create a black middle class in Athens, Georgia. It'll be modeling local politics in a way that hopefully is portable. And I'll tell you how to create a lot of enemies. So now I'm looking at the chat in YouTube. Thanks, guys, for coming all in. And remember, we're not voting for black faces anymore. We tried that with Obama, and if you look at the home ownership rates, that wasn't working for us. We're voting for black policies, and if those black faces don't have black policies, and I'm talking about policies for the black masses, not for the black Ivy League class, but policies for the black masses, then let's start putting pressure on white politicians, because we're voting policies, not faces. And we need to tell other people to vote policies, not faces, too, because symbolic policies isn't gonna one, keep black people out of jail, but it's not gonna buy black people a house. Symbolism doesn't buy black people houses, doesn't get black people jobs, doesn't get black people good jobs. So Now that I warned you about my concerns with Stacey Abrams not being specific for her agenda, and I said I wouldn't go too hard, I would just like warn you that like she's a black politician who might not actually be committed to our life. I'm going to give her the opportunity to come out with this black agenda before I hammer her. So I'm watching. And you better believe Yvette's watching you, Stacey. So come correct. And I do want to say one other thing in general, and this is the general point that's actually important, about young politicians who seem like really precocious and really ambitious and really talented. Those are the ones you have to watch most carefully because you don't become a high-level young politician in this generation by having radical politics. You become a high-level young politician in this generation by being willing to compromise and reproduce the conventional wisdom of whatever patron you're looking to get money from. So watch politicians under 50. Like watch politicians under 30. Guys like John Ossoff, they didn't get there because they have radical politics. They got there because older white money likes them. Stacey Abrams did not get where she is by articulating radical politics. She got them by being non-offensive to older white money. You don't get through Yale by having radical politics, right? Like this isn't the Julian Bond generation. This is a different generation. They got there by, scribbling in the right bubbles and the right tests at the right time and getting the right recommendations by not offending the right professors at the right time. And I say this as a person who's gone pretty far in academia and had to make choices, that the fastest way to get to the top as a black person, especially a black person under 40 or under 50, is by doing by being willing to do grimy things to other black people. So the fact that she's so high and so vaunted, so young, isn't necessarily a accolade in her favor. It's actually something to be wary of. And it's something to give you a reason to ask for specific policies. Not to not vote for her, but to demand specific policies, not to be taken by the fact that she's just a sister who's young and doing well by the Democratic Party. For example, compare her to Vincent Fort, who's a 60-year-old guy running for governor, who's running for Atlanta mayor, who actually has a quality of politics and will push for the quality of policies that will get money into black people's pockets. So if you have to choose between a young cat like Kasim Reed, who's being termed out, or who's not running again, or Vincent Fort, an older guy with the right politics, pick the older guy with the right politics. Please. Youth is a way, like getting people to pick for the next generation, the younger generation, is a way to trick like black people into giving over their politics. Another strategy that I want to talk about, it's on my handy dandy list, about black politics and the way we're getting tricked out of what we're due is, and I'll start with the story. All right, gather around. I was getting my car serviced at the dealership, and I look on television and I see Tom Selleck telling older people to take out reverse mortgages on their house. It was very disturbing because it was a long commercial in the middle of the day. I don't watch TV in the middle of the day, but I was getting my car service and I looked up and I know a lot of older people too watch TV in the middle of the day, and there was Tom Selleck telling people to take out a reverse mortgage on your house. Black people, do not take out a reverse mortgage on your house. We have an elder care problem in the United States because we don't have the political supports everywhere to take care of our older generation the way we should. However, black people, we disproportionately do not have life insurance. We disproportionately do not have a major stock portfolio. Our wealth is disproportionately in our house. The 42% of households who actually have them, as like compared to the 70 some odd percent of white households who actually have houses and aren't renting. We have 42%. So our home ownership numbers are lower, but what wealth we have is in our homes. Do not take out these reverse mortgages just because Magnum tells you to. Magnum does not care about your legacy, black people. Magnum only cares about Tom Selleck's legacy and getting paid by the banks to get you to give your house to the banks. Because what happens, and I've had multiple black baby boomers over the last year tell me that like they're getting pressured from the banks to take out the reverse mortgage, but they're scared because when they pass on, their kids aren't going to be able to take, because for various reasons in the U.S. economy, their kids are not going to be able to take up the taxes and the mortgage. So they'll lose the house. And a lot of these white governed districts, they want the banks to take your house so that they give your house to whatever university or whatever hospital or whatever institution that wants to grab your stuff, or whatever developer is going to line the politicians' pockets. So we need a black politics that actually supports consumer protections, and that'll keep black people from signing away their houses just because they've been marketed to, because marketing works. They got Magnum on TV for a reason, because it works. If you see Billy D. Williams telling you to sell your house and take out a reverse mortgage, don't do it, black people. Don't do it. We do have an elder care problem. And for example, there are great places who do this well. For example, in Kansas City, they have a public elder care facility. And I think there's one or two in Chicago that actually are reasonably placed and reasonably priced. So we don't have to sell our houses at a loss or take out a reverse mortgage to pay for elder care. We can actually get elder care somewhere else that's reasonable while actually giving our house to, your grandkids or something like that. So this is especially important because in the United States, the story in the 21st century is not going to be so much. The story in the 20th century is not going to be so much income, what you make in a year. It's going to be wealth. Wealth. All the money, a lot of the money, not all the money, but a lot of the money that has been made or will be made has been made. And it's been made by baby boomers or before baby boomers. And a lot of it's been made while black people were locked out of the economy or only in, say, 13 jobs. So protecting our wealth is actually important if you care about our legacy. And remember, the banks, the institutions, and a lot of our political leadership does not care about your kids. It does not care about your grandkids. It does not care about your community wealth. In fact, it wants to take it because somehow we've ended up in the middle of cities, and a lot of white people want their cities back because they don't want to commute in from the suburbs. All right. So I'm going to check out YouTube for a little bit. Hey, y'all. So we need to talk about, I got a haircut. Yeah, I did get a haircut. I had to go to a conference, and sometimes things happen. Not a huge fan of getting haircuts, but every now and then I do it because they look right. So the goal of this show, people ask, why do you do this, Black Politics? The goal of this show is Black political education. The goal of all of our institutions should be Black political education, because we need institutions that help us govern. And right now, all of our institutions help us be better consumers. But as I'm gonna read, we need the kind of institutions that help us govern so we can get real money into the black community. Not just survival money, not just a soup kitchen, but $25, $27 an hour jobs so that you can actually build and produce and have disposable capital to start your own business or invest in your own dues-paying organizations or make your own moves. But we first need a plan, a politics that will get us a quality of jobs that we deserve. So if you're watching this now, can you hit that little bell on the video? There's subscribe, and then there's a little bell. Hit that little bell so that every time I end up doing a video here, you'll get a notification, and we can do this political education together. All right, so why is black politics important? In 2016, the federal government awarded over $470 billion. That's the federal $1 billion. That's the federal government, not even a state. Federal government awarded $470 billion to private companies in the form of government contracts. There's an article on the Huffington Post right now concerning why black CBC leaders should meet with Trump. And they should meet with Trump to get some of this money, to get a chance at some of this money. Look, black people, we don't have a lot of power in the Republican Party. We have to negotiate with them. We actually might have to be polite and nice with Republicans. We don't have to be polite and nice with Democrats. We can tell the Democrats to do whatever we want them to do. We don't do that because we've been programmed and controlled by people like Joy Reid who just tell us to be mad at Republicans and do whatever Democrats do. But actually, our strategy as a matter of political strategy is be mean to Democrats, make sure we extract what we need from Democrats because 94% of us vote for Democrats. And honestly, outside of like Washington, D.C. and Oregon, and maybe California, because California's getting rid of black people, Democrats can't do anything without black people. So we need to use our power with Democrats, and we don't have to be nice about it to get our money from Democrats. We need to be polite to Republicans because they're all white supremacists anyway. So we can get a little bit of we can get a nut of that $470 billion in federal contracts to black businesses or black programs, then we need to do that. Like you're a congressman, your job is to meet with power. In my estimation, the CBC actually is derelict of duty for not meeting with Trump. Sure, it's going to turn into a photo op, so you have stipulations. Or if you have another plan that goes with not meeting Trump, you need to come out with that plan clearly and publicly. You can't just say you refuse to meet with Trump because he's not your president, or because he's mean to you, or because he insults you. You need to come out with a plan on how you're going to get that money to the black people around Trump if you're not going to actually meet with Trump. So $470 billion to private companies. Only 1.8% of those dollars were awarded to black-owned businesses. That's 1.8%. We're 13 to 14% of these United States, 12 to 14% of these United States, with a claim. Not just any old 12 to 13%. We're not like Mormons. We're 12 to 13% with a claim on government wealth. So honestly, we should be getting 15% of those contracts. Should be getting 15% of those contracts, and we should be arguing for a politics that guarantees black people 15% of those contracts, and then make them figure it out. Because we have a claim, and then as a matter of justice, we only need our 13% proportion, but we need also restitution. So we need to be asking for 15 or 20. And we need to get our Democratic congressmen and officials to be asking for 20, and then we negotiate to get 15. And if we're not doing that, then we don't know what our politics means. And then even for example, in New York City, right? New York City gave $15.3 billion away in contracts. 95% of those companies were owned by white men. Black people. There are black people in New York. We need to get those contracts. And we need a politics that puts pressure on city, county, state, and federal municipal contractors to give preferential treatment to black-owned businesses and black companies. And you say, why preferential treatment? Because if you give poor white people money, the first thing they do, or if you give poor non-black people money, the first thing they do is get away from black people and then starve black people of public resources. So if you give a poor white family who's making $25,000 of money, $25,000 a year, family of four, their kids are in public school. If you give them $80,000, the first thing they're going to do is rip their kids out of public school if their public school has too many black people, and then put their kids in the private school. And then, since segregation leads to neglect and indifference, they'll vote to starve that public school full of money. So you can't just give money to everybody, Because if you give money to everybody, what they do is get together and weaponize it against the most vulnerable population, which is us. So we need a specific benefit where everyone else stays the same and we get a kick up. Right? So people think that we're in solidarity with poor white people. No. Most poor white people are just like racists. And a lot of actually black people, if they don't have their politics and sensibility right, are just itching to be anti-black racists, anti-black, anti-poor black racists also. If we give them money, the first thing they do is going to be actualize their racism. Because right now their racism is latent. It's weak. It's impotent. They're just poor, impotent racists. As soon as you give them money, now they become actualized, externalized, functional racists. And so we need a black politics before we just start advocating willy-nilly for universal programs for everybody. Because once everybody gets those jobs, what they do is use those extra resources against black people. So we need to be hard on our black politicians and our white politicians who want our vote to come up with a plan for black generational poverty. Not person of color generational poverty, black generational poverty. Because we have black problems that deal with a black legacy. So you got that? You got that, YouTube? All right. Thanks, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to do black. I'm trying to do black politics and black political education. So this is why we need a specific benefit. Because if you don't give us a specific benefit, everyone else will use the general benefit and get it together and use it against us and then end up starving us of public resources. So everyone else needs to stay the same. Black people need to go up. And it's a matter of justice. Not like because it's our tribe, but because we're actually owed. It just so happens to be our tribe is owed a justice claim. All right. So we've talked about what black politics can do, which is get these contracts to black-owned businesses, or what Chokwe Lumumba is doing. Chokwe Lumumba is the recently elected. Right now, he just finished his primary. He's going to a general, but he's the recently successful primary candidate in Jackson, Mississippi. Since Jackson, Mississippi is over 85% black, once you run the Democratic primary, you're pretty much a shoo-in to win the election. So Chokwe Lumumba, if he's anything like his father, Chokwe Lumumba, and he said he was, is going to try to institute programs for black cooperative businesses to get city contracts. That's a quality of politics we need. And before I open up the phones, because I'm about to open up the phones, let's talk a little bit about what it's going to take to get black people in every occupation in America. We've been locked out of most occupations, right? There aren't a lot of black dentists. There are some black dentists. There aren't a lot of black pilots. There are some black pilots. There aren't a lot of black female pilots. There are some black female pilots, but we've been functionally locked out and locked into about 13 to 15 occupations. That's a problem, but it's not going to be a problem that can be handled by the market, right? I called in my air conditioning guy, and this is an important story. I called in my air conditioning guy because I'm in the South now, and we had some air conditioning problems. Called in the air conditioning guy, and I tried to go out of my way to find black contractors, but I just couldn't find a black air conditioning contractor in Athens. And so I ended up going to a white guy, although it's important to set up infrastructures to connect black contractors because we don't have the disposable income for marketing budgets. It's important to try to find a civic infrastructure, maybe a black business directory, to make sure black contractors get their wares out. Anyway, so I ended up with a white air conditioning guy come over, and what happened was there was a white master air conditioner repairman and a white apprentice air conditioner repairman. And the white apprentice air conditioner repairman was very much an apprentice who did not know the job, and the white master air condition guy was teaching the white apprentice, and for all I know, they look similar enough that one was one's nephew or cousin. And that's how trades and air conditioned contracting is a good job in the South. That's going to be a good job. Pest control is a good job. But if we don't have uncles or church members who are going to apprentice us, because our uncles or church members are descendants of sharecroppers, we need government to set up pipelines to force these businesses to take on black apprentices. And so eventually we can get our own businesses and pay them well, even if the government is subsidizing part of the salary, so that eventually these apprentices, when they get on their own, actually have the extra capital to start their own businesses, to start their own auto shops, to start their own wheel places. So we're not just in 13 to 15 occupations. We're in all of the occupations. To start our own production businesses, right? There's a reason why, I want you to go to Break and Brown and kick in a monthly so I can create more interns and actually train interns to do what I'm doing, so that there are more black people who know their way around television production equipment, even if it's just live streaming video production equipment. This is a craft. This is a craft. So plumbers, electricians, heating and cooling, those are all really good jobs. There's a great, thanks, who's saying that? Kesia Kenton saying that. There's a great joke about how a doctor was had a drain, so he had to call in a plumber, and the plumber came in and said, well, here's the bill, I cleared your drain, and the doctor looked at the bill and said, there's a lot of money for a plumber, and the plumber said, yeah, that's just how much it costs, and the doctor said, well, this is more than I charge, and I'm a doctor. And then the plumber looks and says, well, yeah, that's more than I made when I was a doctor too. So plumbers do fine, especially if you get a plumber with one of those nice government contracts that hopefully, if we do our politics right, it's going to be Stacey Abrams' job to get to black people. So I'm glad you guys appreciated the joke. It's a good joke. There's nothing wrong with being a trade. There is something wrong with training for a trade and not getting a contract because you don't have your politics right. So we need blacks in all the trades, and we need the quality of politics that will force trades to apprentice blacks and then force institutions to give those apprentice blacks contractors, their first contractors, even if the apprentices screw it up, even if those first generation air heating and cooling people screw it up, because we don't know how to do this. It takes 3 generations to make a career. We don't know how to do this. We should be able to screw up a few times. Damn right I said we should be able to screw up to 2 times. Maybe we're not going to be the cheapest bid. We got to pay for other things. We should still get that contract. Because that's what it means to be a degraded, to have tried to make your way in a land full of domestic terrorism. Honestly, people like me talk like this and they got shot a generation ago. So, we're going to need some help. We're going to need some help. We got shut out of construction. That is right. Construction, those are good jobs. Working on barges, welders, good. These are all jobs. Dentists, these are all jobs that black people should be doing but aren't doing because we need the pipelines and to take pipelines seriously. So I'm going to first put the number up, and then I'm going to open up calls, and we're going to have our conversation. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show, but let me get this number up, and we'll talk about what we need to talk about. All right. All right, numbers up. Go ahead and call in, and we'll get this conversation going. Remember, Yvette's going to have her show tomorrow night. She's having an extra special show tomorrow night, and then she's having a regular Wednesday show. So tell your friends about this show. Subscribe. If I get enough subscribers, I'm going to get my local Black Politics Athens show going. So we'll really talk about how to do black politics at a local level, but we'll try to do it in a way that's portable. That means we're going to go after some of the black preachers and pastors who might not be doing the quality of black politics that our people deserve or need. And that means we'll do all if I get this Black Politics show going, we're going to name all the names and we're going to go at it hard, because either you're going to be for a Black politics that gets money into Black people's pockets and creates the pipelines we need, or you're going to be part of the problem. And I'm not going to be afraid to run you over if you're part of the problem. So let's get that show going. To do that, I'm going to need some more subscribers, and go to the Funky Academic, maybe kick down, $5, $10 a month or something like that. And let's get that going, and let's get the political education we need. This is what we need Black politics to look like. Not just talking about criminal justice, but talking about how to get money into Black people's pockets. And not just talking about soup kitchens or project housings, but talking about the quality of jobs guaranteed that, like, for Black people, that will get them the money they need for an actual down payment or subsidized down payment on a house that they'll be able to use as an asset to build their business or pass on to their kids. That's the quality of Black politics we need. Not charity, soup kitchens, or projects, but home ownership and jobs at $20, $25, $30 an hour. All right. So now that you got the number, let me open up these phones. I think this should work. All right, Anonymous, you're on. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Good.
You know, I know you're beholden to the Democrats. I understand your rationale.
Right, what's my rationale
It
then?
would be easier for us to move that party
Right,
before we move the Republicans.
yeah.
Okay, now I've lived a while. I'm a black descendant of the American Negro slaves. I've lived a while, long enough to understand that the history of the Democratic Party.
Okay,
Now,
before the switch, before Nixon, yeah.
I'm not gonna. What I want you to, what do I want to impart? I want to impart that 4 years is not soon enough. It's not. I don't think that'll convince them. I think if we withheld our votes this next election, that might cause. It might promulgate the discussion. It might. But I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we can all unify to withhold our votes in solidarity on this one account. Can you convince me of that?
All right, thanks for the call. That's actually...
You can... Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's actually...
Lead me on to that.
That's a good point. I'm going to speak right to it. All right, so the problem is, and I went to my local Democratic meeting last week because, I'm saying, look, we're going to teach you how to do Black politics. And in order to teach you how to do Black politics, I should, go and do local Black politics. So I went to my local Democratic meeting, and you got a bunch of white people in that room who do not have a Black politics and do not think they need a Black politics, although the town, Athens, is 27 to 35% Black. They think they want more Black people in the room, but they're not willing to have a Black politics that will get Black people in the room. So we need to put pressure on, and I made it clear what I would do and how I would organize if they don't come up with a Black politics toot sweet. But we need to put pressure on this Democratic Party, and if that means... Well, first, okay, so let me talk about the Republicans. We can actually work with the Republicans. We don't have the same pressure with the Republicans, but let's be honest, Republicans don't want to deal with Black people. The Republican base doesn't actually want to deal with Black people. So issues like HBCUs, colleges that'll keep Black people away from integrated schools and keep them at Black colleges, that's actually something you can deal with Republicans on. It won't be pretty, but you can deal with Republicans on getting money for something like HBCUs. You might even be able to deal with Republicans on getting money for Black-owned businesses. It'll be harder to deal with Republicans to get them to force integration into big white-owned businesses, but you can make deals with Republicans on maybe getting contracts to Black-owned businesses if you promise that you'll leave the white-owned businesses alone. Like, there are deals, there are kind of ugly deals you can make. And insofar as we don't have real power with the Republican Party, we need to be honest about, like, what kind of deals we can make. That's why I'm disappointed with the CBC for not actually, like, trying to make a deal with Trump, or, like, putting in that effort, because that's their job. That's their job. And if they're not going to make that, they're not going to take that job seriously, they need to come out with a clear politics, a clear plan, and explain that plan to me on air about how they're going to get some of this $470 billion contract money into black hands and into black communities. So that's how we deal with Republicans. With Democrats, we don't have to be nice. We don't have to be nice at all. We tell Democrats what we want. We tell them we want a black politics, and then we sit out if they don't give us a black politics we deserve. Now, the Democrats know that black politics is their weakness. That's why they paid at the national level so much money for Negro control. Oprah is Negro control. BET is Negro control. Chance the Rapper is Negro control. Their job is to get you to hate Republicans more than you're willing to demand of Democrats an economic program. All of those NBA players who tell you to vote Democrat, just vote. Don't ask for anything, but just vote. Or just say, like, criminal justice is the only issue that matters. Just vote. Those are Negro control to keep you from from demanding of the Democratic Party the politics you deserve. They're all arms of social control. They're all propaganda. Joyanne Reid is propaganda to keep you mad at Republicans, but not asking Democrats for the justice and the redress we deserve. That's how you get put on mainstream media. That's how you get put on. You get put on by admitting, by being willing to be social control to screw up black politics. That's how you get put on. That's how you get elevated, even in white left circles, by denying the need for black politics. So independently, we need to build a black politics that never forgets that we need our due. And our due needs to be special from other people's due. Can't be universal. All right. Next caller.
Hey, it's Tobias.
Hey, Tobias. What's up, man?
Man, first I cleaned up over the weekend, your haircut. Very nice.
I got it.
I see. Hey, so a couple of quick things, man.
What's up, man?
Two quick things.
Yeah.
With Chance the Rapper, on my timeline, it's like he got a humanitarian award. I wonder what was the humanitarian thing he did. We should see the problem black people is we champion charity.
Yes.
Rappers should not be donating money to schools. That's the job of the government.
Good for you, Tobias.
Pushing them to say, but here's the other thing I'll say on that real quick. That is not challenging white supremacy and the powers to be.
No.
Carrying out some charity.
You're right.
You're not challenging the system.
Good for you. Yes. Keep going. You can keep going. That was good.
One point real quick, Irene, I'll go. Come here, you got to get other people.
Yeah, but you're doing good.
That last season of Orange. I watched the season of Orange, the New Black Army, and they had this part with one black girl, the inmate. They showed she was in high school. She was an inner city girl, and they took her to these white schools, right? These rich white schools. And they thought that would motivate her, but it actually unmotivated her. When she told her teacher, like Susie's going to a science camp when she's going to cost more than my dad makes in 3 months. They're learning how to grow food. They got all these computers here, all this fun, and we got nothing.
We got nothing.
That is where these black politics have failed.
Good. All right, so we need to make explicit all of the things that non-black people have implicitly. All of the camps and all of the networks and all of the infrastructure that they do implicitly and don't tell anybody about, and then they say, like, we're all in it together. All the things that they do implicitly, we need to make explicit because we don't have the disposable income to fund them themselves. So we need to figure out the networks and the infrastructure that makes for non-black success, and then demand funding to create pipelines and a network and an infrastructure for black success. Black politics, I never said black politics is easy. I'm saying that we have a claim and we don't have any money. So black politics is going to be the way to go. Also, Chance the Rapper receiving a humanitarian award. Black people, no. He's getting that award for making more black people vote Democrat without demanding for like real redress. All right, so here's the deal. People don't know, and this is important. March on Washington for jobs and freedom, right? So I just had a son. Yay, I just had a son. I have 2 daughters. Honestly, I was kind of hoping for a daughter. They live longer. They do better in school. Everything's easier. Like, I talked before about, like, when I think about black men, like, the adjective that comes to my mind is vulnerable, not like anything else. And, like, that's the right adjective. It's an adjective that we don't use for black men nearly enough because what they are is targeted and vulnerable. But I just had a son, and I named my son Bayard. And off of Bayard, and he's named for Bayard Rustin, one of the principal organizers of the Civil Rights Movement and one of the principal organizers of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, right? Jobs and freedom. Jobs and freedom. That's what black people need to be talking about. All other politicians, all other black policies that don't come down to jobs and freedom, and often it's all like in America, it's freedom through jobs, is a distraction. Right? We need good paying jobs, not soup kitchens. We need justice, not charity. We need to get into those. We need carpentry contracts. And that means we need to have more black apprentice carpenters. And since there aren't a lot of black master carpenters, that means we need to force some of these white master carpenters to apprentice black carpenters and then withhold their licenses if they don't. That's what it comes down to. That's what happens when you're descended from slaves. Like, that's what happened, and like a generation and a half away from being sharecroppers and maids. That's what you need. And that's the kind of quality of politics we need. There are a lot of things we can't teach for ourselves. Not in like carnivorous capitalism of 21st century America. Because it takes capital to get the tools, and it takes contracts to sustain your business. And if we can't get the contracts and we can't get the capital to get the tools, the little bit of money you have for an LLC license and a YouTube account isn't gonna do it. So hope that addresses Tobias's concern and Tobias's worries. And let's go on to another caller. Let's see how we're doing. Hey, caller, you're on. Caller?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's up?
Hello, yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey. What?
I am happy to visit through. This is my first time attempting to call.
Hey.
That I went through. And I am very much appreciative of your show and Yvette's show.
Thank you. Tell your friends.
You
Thank
made me do a complete 180 on my political stance. But the reason I'm calling is because I joined the conversation late. I don't know if you guys talked about Stacey Abrams or not. I imagine you have if you're at the end. But I actually went to high school with her sister.
Oh, the other Yale graduate.
No, she has a lot of sisters.
Oh, yeah, she does have a lot of sisters. Okay.
4 sisters and 2 brothers.
All right, so tell me some dirt.
This sister didn't go to Yale. And I've met her a couple of times, and I believe she is a sincere person, and I think she is someone that we can, I don't know any dirt on her, sorry.
No.
I think she's a sincere person, and I think she's someone that we can hold accountable.
Good.
If you go to some of her talks here on YouTube, she says, like, if you don't believe in what I'm doing as a politician, vote me out, you know. So I hear she's eager to coalesce with the Republicans, reach across the aisle and form coalitions with the Republicans. But nonetheless, I think she is a genuine candidate and someone who can be held accountable, and that's always a good thing.
Good. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's all right, so I have an in with I'll not divulge any names. I have an in with someone working on the Abrams campaign, and he tells me that her politics are real. They're working out the platform. If I just sit tight, I will not be disappointed. And I say, you know what? Stacey Abrams, she's a young sister. I'm going to give her a few months to get her platform right. But you're going to have to come out with a plan to get money in black people's pockets, or I'm going to come after you. And I'm going to come after you hard. I might even come after you harder because you're black. Sorry. I'm going to come after you hard. You're going to need a black politics. You're going to need, I don't want any more black faces who excuse not pushing policies that will disproportionately redress the legacy of generational poverty and being locked out of so many jobs. Like the University of Georgia, if you're the governor, you should be pushing for policies saying 20% of all staff, all upper 5-figure, 6-figure staff is black. Like you should be pushing for these policies. You should be doing it unapologetically too, because Georgia, this state, locked us out of these jobs, and it's the state's responsibility. The state right now is the only person who could do it to get us back in, to pipeline us, to shoehorn us back in. So that's the quality of politics I need from Stacey Abrams. She's just been a little bit too general in what I've read from her, and a little bit too eager to cross the aisle. She says like one of her fundamental principles is to work cross the aisle and work with the opposing party when she can. That's not one of my fundamental principles. My fundamental principle is getting money into black people's pockets and using the power of government to do so, to force, and using the licensing power and the contracting power of government to force money into black communities en masse. So that my goal is before I expire, I turn Athens, Georgia into a place where black people, you just know that if you're black, you come from an $80,000 a year household. That's my goal. I want to create a black middle-class Athens. Just 70, I don't need a bunch of millionaires. I need $70,000, $80,000 a year heating and cooling people. Apprenticing other black $70,000, $80,000 a year heating and cooling people. That's my dream of Athens. And that's my dream of a black politics that works. In California, that number is going to be a little bit higher because like there are issues. But like in Athens, I want 80. I want to just walk out and know that like all the black people I see come home like have not only disposable, not only like survival income, but disposable income because they're making like bringing home in their household like $80,000. That's what I want. And that's what I need a black politics to try to endeavor to win for me. All right, let's go to the next call.
We go.
Hey, what's up, man? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh.
What's
Hi,
up?
this is Marlene. I was calling to talk about the pipeline, what you're saying about the prison pipeline for black kids and the white kids. They have starting out, or Mexican, they're starting them out as bankers in elementary school. And their pipeline is going like all the way through where they don't have anything for black kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all right. So, okay, we can talk about that. So, we have to be careful, right? So, you have to set up pipelines in the right way. We want pipelines that increase capital in the black community, but we don't want pipelines that teach other black people how to treat black people like garbage, right? So right now we have political pipelines that teach up-and-coming aspiring politicians how to get elected by ignoring black people. Like, so I worry about, like, say, finance pipelines before we get our political education right, because that might teach black people how to work for Goldman Sachs in a way that ends up, for example, doing what is it, social interest bonds or something. Like right now, Goldman Sachs is betting on black kids. Like they've turned the charter school market into like a betting market. Then they make money off of black success and failure in a way that's like not necessarily tied to like creating strong black people. So like I don't want to create the next type of banker who's going to so easily go into that situation and go along with it. So we need to get our public education right. And if I said this before, I don't know if I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. In an authoritarian regime, and the U.S. isn't a real authoritarian regime. In an authoritarian regime, you have a minister of propaganda who tells you, state-run TV, who tells people what to think and how to think and like controls all the media. In a liberal democracy, you do propaganda in a different way. You do it by omission. So we do propaganda, we do anti-black propaganda by omitting all of the ways the U.S. government has locked black people out of economic life in the United States. We do propaganda by leaving Black Wall Street and the terrorism that brought down Black Wall Street out of the history books. We do propaganda by leaving out the MOVE bombings in Philadelphia in the 80s out of the history books. And we do anti-black propaganda by leaving out in the Oregon public education books the fact that Oregon didn't even allow black people to buy property until 1926. And by 1926, all the property you want is like bought. So we do anti-black propaganda in the United States by making U.S. citizens incompetent with respect to black justice claims. And we do that by just, like, I bet you in schools in Athens, they don't talk about the extent to which the government abetted anti-black racism in Athens. I suspect they don't even tell the kids that UGA, the University of Georgia in Athens, the flagship university, was segregated white until the 60s and was only desegregated by court order, which means it wasn't really desegregated for decades later, probably till Dominique Wilkins played basketball. Then, like, and right now it's only got what I said. I read a report that, or I heard a story that it's only 1.5% black male. And if a school is 1.5% black male, that's just athletes. And that's your flagship school where all the billions of dollars from the state kind of run through. It's just casual about locking black people out. So when I think about pipelines, we need pipelines to all of the jobs. And they need to be state sponsored because we don't know how to do everything, so we can't apprentice ourselves. I'll take 2 more callers. Hey, you're on.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Am I on?
You are on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It was a little difficult because I could hear the other callers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that I had a chance to see you on a stream at the People's Summit.
Oh.
So I had a chance to see you sort of push back on something that I believe Demiki Cox said about media.
Yeah.
So I really did appreciate that.
Thank you.
And
There was another black person in that room?
Dan.
There was another black person in that room?
I don't think so. I think you were it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you were it. I think I might have seen a couple of other brown faces on the live stream, but I think you were the one representing for the most part.
Yeah.
And I also had a chance to, check out Dan Jones' speech, which was really, really moving. It was great, except that he did exactly what you said in terms of basically saying we only want criminal justice reform. I think that's the message that I got out of it.
Right.
Despite the fact that it was a pretty moving speech, and he talked about the minors and how black boys and chants. Really moving speech. Basically, I got out of it. These black that they don't want reparations anymore. They don't want this. They don't want that. But just killing our kids. I'm like, is that really the message that we want to convey?
Yeah.
In terms of what our demands are and what we really need for our community. I kind of like Dan, but I mean that was me.
Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of other calls.
No.
I just get what your client's situation.
What's my what situation?
I see that a lot of sort of black people that Nancy needs to be replaced.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can talk a little bit now. All right. So.
Yes, I want to.
All right. So.
What I want to know. What is your whole perspective on the Nancy Pelosi?
I can talk about Nancy Pelosi.
And where should
I can talk about Nancy Pelosi. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just got to keep it moving. So, first of all, at the People's Summit, Nomiki Konst, he was actually really talented. In a well-ordered world, Nomiki and I would be colleagues. I think we can work well together. I think she said something horribly ignorant and ridiculously misleading. She said television is dead in terms of its political effectiveness. You spend all the money on television and it's dead. To which for black people that's just not true. She was in a room full of people who all have very good internet connections and probably have cell phones and then have live in areas with really good fast internet and all of that. So when you tell those people that television is dead, you're really actually doing anti-black politics because a lot of black people still get their news from television. The internet is not everywhere. Broadband is not everywhere. Not everyone can keep up on their internet bill all the time. We still get a lot of our information from television, and we disproportionately watch television. So it's not just the ads that are working on us. It's the stories themselves and the structures of the drama. That's why I say that Shonda Rhimes' job is Negro control. Nobody gets politically active in the right. Nobody does black politics like I do black politics by watching Scandal. You get a distorted view of what black politics looks like by watching Scandal. Because the one time Olivia Pope almost got woke was in a very special episode, and it had to be a very special episode because can't do that nonsense every week, about police shooting. And she almost got woke in that very special episode. There was no Olivia Pope organizing to make sure black contractors get jobs. That's because ABC won't air that. So when it's in the structure of the drama, television works in the black imagination in so many different ways that we need to. So when Nomiki Konst said television is dead as a politically vibrant and relevant media, I said no. No, Nomiki, don't tell these white people that. This is the reason why the left lost, because Bernie didn't take black media seriously and didn't take television seriously. And I had on good occasions that he had a chance to put more money in the South Carolina ad market and chose not to. And that's why his internet movement did not translate to a black movement, because black people still do a lot of word of mouth and we still watch a lot of television. So we need to get in the FCC to make sure that, black channels get put on charter, that you have a real independent black media. That's not, and BET is Negro control. We need to advocate so people like Yvette, and even people like myself, but mostly people like Yvette, get on mainstream television somehow. Even if you get her on Fox, get Yvette on television. Get Yvette on TV. That's how you're going to reach black people in a mass way. So when Nomiki Konst said that television's dead for black people, I had to because apparently internet's a new way. I had to push back, although I respect Nomiki. I find her actually talented and really prepared. I can't have her saying that message to a room full of people who are actually bad at black politics, because that'll make them actually worse. Television still matters. In a well-ordered world, I've said this before, you have me writing a reboot of Good Times where Michael is a laid-off Chicago school teacher who now is organizing black politics. That's the kind of television I would pump, and that's the kind of television that we need, but that's not the kind of television we won't get. That's not the kind of television we will get unless we have a black politics that pushes for that kind of television. Instead, we'll get Shonda Rhimes telling you that black politics means sleeping with the president. And she made another point that I can't quite remember. It was very good. Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is a problem for black people. Nancy Pelosi is a problem for us. She's a San Francisco Democrat, which means she's a Democrat from a city that's gotten rid of its black people. We don't need Democrats from cities that have made a policy out of getting rid of its black people to be the head of a party that black people are trying to leverage. Nancy Pelosi needs to get gone. She needs to have an entire speech about how she's fallen down on the job for the last few decades while she's let her city get rid of, exterminate, not just jail and push out black people. Black people are now. I read an article that said there was 6% of the city, but 56% of the jail in San Francisco. Now, that's atrocious. And I think it's actually that number's gone down to 3% of the city. I don't know how many of the jail. But we're letting the leader of the Democratic Party be from a place that's actively hostile to black people. That's unacceptable. I have hard words for Nancy Pelosi, none of those words. But nobody's ever going to put me in a room for Nancy Pelosi because I don't have that kind of Skrilla. And that's pretty much a metaphor for black people and their relationship with Nancy Pelosi. We don't have the money to press her, and she's the only response to money. So she needs to go. We need a black politics that says Nancy Pelosi needs to go. We need a black leader. We need a leader of the Democratic Party who's not necessarily black, but a leader of the Democratic Party who actually is committed to black politics. And not the politics for everyone, not politics for people of color. Because San Francisco's got a lot of people of color. It just doesn't have black people because it pushed the black people out because it was tired of black people. All right, last caller. I'm going to Chicago. 773, these are my people. All right, you're on. Hello? 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 Oh, man, Chicago, don't let me down. 773, you're on. Hello? All right, I guess that's a wrap. It makes me sad to hang up on a 773 number, but I have to. All right, you're on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're on. What's up?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. First, I'd like to say I really love you and Yvette Cornell and Antonio Moore. I think y'all bringing the numbers and the data really changed a lot of people's viewpoint on black politics and just black statistics in general. Good. But I have two questions, Army.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask them and then I get off and listen to you on your screen live. The first one is I was listening to this talk radio show and they was talking about Eric Holder might throw his name in the hat for presidency, and I wanted to know what you think about Eric Holder's politics. That's one. And then the second question is, I know you was talking about in Jackson, Mississippi, the mayor probably advocate for black contracts and all that stuff. Yeah. But that, in Jackson is 80% black. Right. So how can people who live, say, in a city where, say, it's 30% black, or we might have a Democratic or liberal mayor, but he's white or maybe he's black, but we only make 30% of the population or 40% of the population. How can we convince these politicians to advocate for putting money in the black people's pockets whenever most of their constituencies are white? And I'd just like to know what your thoughts about how you can advocate that in cities where it's not
majority black, like say Jackson, Mississippi, or Atlanta, Georgia, but somewhere else in the South. And
Okay.
then I listen to you off there. Okay.
All right, thanks, man. All right, so first things first, he mentioned Eric Holder throwing in this room. Like, Eric Holder likes black people right up until it gets in the way of white money. Like that. Eric Holder likes black people right up until it gets in front of white money, in which case he doesn't care about black people. He wasn't trying to keep black people in their house. He wasn't trying to prosecute bankers who were swindling black people during the housing scheme. Like, he likes black people right up until it gets in the way of white money. And anybody who has that limit isn't going to be about a serious black politics. In my mind, I just think that's the case. Anyone who's not willing to jeopardize, who's not willing to take on white capital, isn't going to be seriously for black people. What Harold Holder might do is do some decent stuff on criminal justice, although, like, it'll just be all right. But that's still not a serious black politics. So, like, no, Eric Holder, I'll vote for the white person who's trying to put money into black people's politics more than I'll vote for Eric Holder. I don't need another blackface in a high place. I need policies that'll put my people into heating and cooling jobs and plumbing jobs. Like, he's pro-black, is not pro-black enough. And I need enough. I need the money. I need you to talk about how you're going to get money into black people's pockets. All right, so Chokwe Lumumba. I have a great picture of me and Chokwe from the People's Summit. I think he's great. I think he's actually a wonderful human being. He's going to try to get contracts to black businesses. He won on a platform. They say and the caller was worried about Jackson being 87% black and him winning on that platform. All right, so Chokwe's success is the result of about 20 years of black politics. His dad moved from Detroit to Jackson and just started moving and just started organizing and just started organizing. And 20 years later, you get the black politics we're looking for. Is that how can you do it? Is that going to work for cities with smaller black populations? First of all, if it works, it'll definitely work for Gary, right? Like, it'll definitely work for, like, even Mobile, but, like, it'll definitely work for other places with big black populations. And two, cities with small black populations but still historically democratic. Let's say Athens, right? Athens is 30% black, historically democratic-ish enough, the city proper, in its, own little white supremacist way. But that means that you only need 35% of white people. If you get all your black people, and because if black people show up, they vote. If black people show up, they vote Democrat. If black people show up, they vote Democrat. White people show up, they vote any which way they want to. So you only really need 35% of white people and all of your black people to push the agenda through. The problem is, if you talk to white Democrats, they don't want to not go for all white people. They want all white people to vote for them. They want, or at least 90% of white people to vote for them. They don't want to go for the 40% white strategy. And that's where democratic politics pushes them and forces them to say, like, no, your cousin is a problem. Forsake your cousin and vote for black politics that your cousin's not going to like, or we will, like, knock you out of the primary. We need to stop letting white Democrats in substantively black municipalities and counties get away with not having a black politics. Because we don't have, like, a supermajority, but we have majority within the Democratic Party. We have majority within the primary structure. So this push of white Democrats to try to win without a black politics and just assume black people will go on and go with it, we need to starve them out. We need to let it be known that, no, white Democrat, you're not going to go forward unless you come out with a black politics. And that way, the white Democrat will still win with 45% of the white vote. He just won't win, or she won't win with 75% of the white vote. But that's not our problem. Our problem is getting our black platform on the agenda. So that's how you win with only 30%. you get the white Democrat to say, you tell the white Democrat, either you come up with a black politics or we won't let you get past the primary. So instead of the white Democrat trying to get 80% of white voters and win on some sort of universalist program, we get the white Democrat to forsake white voters, which is going to be tricky. But if we're organized, these Democrats want to win more than they want to keep their cousins happy. We can do it. All right. Hey, look. Thanks for playing along. Tell your friends about this. Go to I Am Osei-Frimpong or the Funky Academic. Like this video, share this video, tell your friends. I don't have the same platform as Yvette, so not as many people know about this video, but I need you to do your work on me, people. Hit this on Twitter. We're doing Black Politics. We're doing Black Politics on multiple channels. And check out my stuff. Tone Talks is doing good work. Antonio Moore. And check out Breaking Brown. Yvette will be with you on Wednesday. Take care now. No, let me be clear. Yvette will be with you tomorrow for a special show and on Wednesday. All right, bye.